Hey everyone, welcome to my Facebook page. And I am looking forward to talking with y'all today. We're going to be talking about a question that has come up several times in my free Facebook group, Artwork Living. And it comes up on a regular basis in almost every single workshop or online course I've ever taught. So hey, Jane Wolfe and Barbie Mathis and Leslie, good to see y'all. So that question is, how do I get my style, or how do I get a style? The other part of that question that comes up a lot is, do I have to have a style? So it's a two-part question. How do I get one? And do I really have to have one? And the answer to that, to both of those questions, ironically, falls around to the same thing. They're two halves of the same issue. So the answer to how do you get your own style is to not worry about it so much. Focusing on it intellectually is not going to help you develop a style. Style is a characteristic way of doing something. It's not something we consciously impose. Think back to when you were about 8 years old or 7 years old and you were learning how to write in cursive. And at first, you're really careful about following all those guidelines that they have and making sure that your A's and your R's match the ones that are up around the corners of the room. And you're really, really concerned about perfectly forming every shape. By the time you're in the next year's grade, usually here in the States, third grade, you're not worried about it anymore. Yeah, you're probably getting a grade on your handwriting, but you're not thinking about forming R's, forming S's, forming Q's and T's. So the process that happens when you're developing your own handwriting is that you learn the way to shape and form the letters, and then you don't think about it anymore. And after a while, your very individual handwriting develops all on its own. Very few people actually plan, I'm going to make my handwriting look like this over here, with some external force shaping the way your handwriting looks. You can form to a degree to what your teachers expect, but it's not something that you overthink. Your style in your painting is the same as your handwriting. It comes from within you. So if you paint long enough, you can't help but develop a style. That's the answer to that second question. So do you even need to have one? You have one. You always will have one. Now, you might not have the consistent body of work that galleries are looking for yet, but that comes from consistent practice. So your style develops automatically through the act of painting. And it comes about by paying attention to your own internal story, to the biography of your life. So what you are passionate about, the things that form the story of what you care about, are what shape your style. So if you are passionate about dogs and you choose to make all of your paintings about dogs, they will turn into your own personal style because your passion will come through in the way you paint the dogs. So style is a characteristic way of doing something. And if you do it long enough, you'll develop your own style. So you can have style based on similar concepts, similar subjects, compositions, similar materials, or similar techniques. It does not have to be all 5 things. So it can be around concept, subject, composition, materials, or techniques, or all of the above. So begin to think about how you feel most passionate about the idea behind your art, about the subjects that you paint, about the compositions, the materials, or the techniques. What speaks to you? Because if you choose the things that speak to you, they will form that definite style that other people will identify. It comes over time. So if you're painting every day, even if you're just working in your sketchbook, if you're doing something towards your artistic practice every day, your style is going to develop. You can make it more conscious and speed the process up, or you can be unconscious about it and let it just happen naturally. Either way will work. One is going to be faster than the other. The thing that I think hangs so many people up, and I definitely saw it in the comments in the free group, was the idea of painting work to meet a gallery's needs or desires, or the perceived gallery's needs or desires. And any of y'all ever worried about that? So anybody in here ever worry about meeting the gallery's needs, or been told that you have to paint a certain way for a gallery? Galleries have considerations that they have to take into mind. And the kernel there that's true, the heart of that's true, is that if you want to exhibit in a gallery, if you want to build a base of collectors, then you need to have a consistent body of work. And what that means is that you need to have a collection of artworks that relate to each other, either through concept or the idea, subjects, compositions, materials, or techniques. You need to have a collection of artworks that are in a similar identifiable style. So if you're going to show in galleries, you do have to work on developing a style. It doesn't mean you have to paint all dogs, all boats, all landscapes, or all people. You can switch your subject up as much as you want. But what you do have to do is to develop a characteristic way of doing things. The reason that's important, it's twofold. One, galleries want to know that once they start marketing, say 2 or 3 paintings that you bring in, that they are going to be able to develop a brand around you. They're going to be able to make your work identifiable to their collectors, because that's what good galleries do. There's still some good ones out there. So if you're working with a good gallery, they're trying to market your work. It's hard to do if your work is not consistent. So it makes their life more difficult. That's why they're so concerned about that. They're not trying to pin you down to all oils or all acrylics or all watercolors or all dogs, cats, landscapes, or portraits. They're trying to create a perceived reputation around your work. So brand just means your reputation. And the gallery's job is to create your reputation. They can only do that if you have work that's going to go into a discernible reputation. Does that make sense? Give me a shout out saying yes or no if that makes any sense to y'all. Cool. Good. The other part of that is that collectors want to know that the value of the work that they buy is going to be pretty stable. They want to know that if they love your work, they can come back and get another one later. That's also a concern of the galleries. They want to know that if they invest their time and effort into you, that you're going to be able to produce more work that's of similar quality over time. So that if they spend money, which good ones do, advertising, that you're going to be bringing more work in once that first body of work sells, so that they're making a worthwhile investment in you. So Keep in mind, it doesn't have to be as narrow as just the subject matter or just the medium. It can be an overall body of work. I like to think about it in terms of working on projects, because that helps to take away the sort of obsession that people have with developing a style or developing a series. Think about working on projects. I was a kid that loved projects, can you tell? So set out an outline for a project. Think about and pay attention to what you love doing and do more of that. Give yourself a time frame to work within and roughly a number of pieces that you're going to work on. And think about what size you want to work on. Think about what kind of compositions and subjects, all of those sorts of things. That'll help you plan your series, plan your project. So let me know if you have any questions around the idea of developing a style, or whether you need to even have a style. I'm going to scroll back up through these comments, and it's good to see Helen George here. And Deepa, how are you? Excellent to see you. And Carol and Nicole, let me know, y'all, if you have a question around the idea of style. Leslie Miller says, yes, it makes sense to me. Being consistent as to who you are is a good thing anyway. Yeah, it really is. Once you really develop the practice of painting, that style's going to happen really without you having to think about it. And organizing your work into different bodies and series will happen just by taking on more projects or taking on different projects. There are lots of successful artists who've worked with very different projects, very different series. One of my favorite examples of that is Gerhard Richter. Richter is a German artist who has been very successful for at least 40 years. And he has two very distinct bodies of work, two very distinct projects. One is total and complete pure abstraction. And the other is a sort of diffused hyperrealism. So what we tend to think of as the complete opposite style-wise in contemporary art are folded together as kind of two halves or two sides of a mirror in Richter's work. So there are ways you can structure approaching really different projects. You don't have to box yourself in. I think we tend to overthink that and become constrained. And what happens when you are constrained and you're feeling boxed in is that your paintings begin to feel forced. And if you're trying to paint for the market, paint for a gallery, or paint what you think the collectors want, paint into a box, you're not going to be very satisfied. And that energy is going to come across to the viewers. And you'll find yourself not selling as much, because the energy and the passion, the love for what you're doing comes through. So make sure that you're not trying to paint for a market or paint what you think people will buy. If your work is driven by passion, if you're consistently developing your skills, there's a market out there for you. You just have to find your peeps. That's entirely possible to do. But if you try to paint into that box, you're going to lose your mojo, and it's going to be really hard to find the buyers. So hopefully that helps with that idea. Hey, Ginger, I see that resonated with you. Cool. And yeah, Leilani, I thought you liked Richter too. I love his work. I've been following him for 40 years. So he is a consistently stellar artist. One of the other things that will change over time is that with an artist who's professional and successful, like Richter, for example, is that when you look at their early work, their mid-career work, and their later work, you'll see changes in style. Just like if you go back and look at your handwriting from when you were in third grade to when you were in high school to now, you'll see changes in style. So style shifts quite naturally over time as your interests and passions change and shift. Don't try to force those things to happen. So style can change over time. Style can be driven in the big picture by the overall qualities of an era, by popular culture, by time periods. So there are all kinds of things that will affect it. But let your own voice come through. There's a phrase I used to like to use with my students at the college a lot. And so I know some of them who are on the call or online right now will recognize it. Your vision is your voice. So what you have up here, what you see, the way you see the world is unique. Each of us comes with a really different set of circumstances and a really different set of interpretations of the way we see the world. So the way you see it, your vision, your story, becomes your voice, your way of expressing. So don't ever turn that off, and don't ever feel like you have to copy somebody else's idea of what it should be. Stay true to yourself. So I want to give us a chance for people to ask questions if they have anything else they want to ask. And also invite any of you who are not already members of my free Facebook group to hop over to Artwork Living and join the group. We would love to have you in there. Artwork Living is a critique support group. It's not a sales group. So if you're looking for a place where you can get honest, nurturing, supportive feedback from a host of artists working in a whole variety of styles, head over there, and let me post the link here. Let's see if I can find that really quickly. Post the link here in the comments, and also put it into the description at the end as well. But we would love to have anybody over there who's not already a member of the group. So if you don't have any other questions, look forward to seeing you soon. Happy painting, everybody. Talk to you again shortly. Bye-bye for now.